and I started to get the idea about how the city could maybe be run better, or how we could be run more efficiently, how we could get a lot more done based on what I learned in that 6 years at the Plan Commission. So made the decision to run in the summer of 2022. I announced it in November of 2022, and long story short, it was a very exciting election, a very busy election year, but ultimately my campaign won it in 2023. And really, Meg was the only person I needed to run it by. She and I are a partnership. We're also business partners with the music school that we own and run together. She's a professional violinist. She actually has played at Carnegie Hall. I mean, she's incredible at what she does. Portage's challenges used to be that the city kind of got in its own way. We had a very complicated code, very complicated approval processes. To give you an idea, when I opened my business, I could not paint my own walls. You had to have a licensed, person like with the city just to do like the things like even the painting. Contractor was so impressed. He said, "This is the fastest I've ever seen a problem taken care of in Portage."
Tuned into the best roofing podcast in the world, the Roof Trollz.
Welcome back to the Roof Trollz, where we're diving straight into part 2 with Portage Mayor Austin Bonta. Get ready for more big ideas and bold plans for Portage.
What's something about Portage that people might not know but should know?
So I want to be careful. Well, no, I'll just say it. So when people come to Portage who have never been to Portage, and it's amazing, you think about the region. I went to Andran, and I don't know, it's a very athletic school. I was on a sports team, guys mess with each other.
Sure.
One of the things you mess with is like, what's the region, right? Like I grew up in the early 2000s where it's like, I don't know, man, is Hebron really in the region? Pretty sure that's too far south. Lowell, this. Portage would get some of that. You'd have guys who I went to school with who lived in Maryville, Gary, Hammond, Griffith, and they're like, nah, man, Portage, that's like the boonies. I'm like, guys, it's definitely not. We got a steel mill, we got people. So a couple things are interesting there. One, whether they were coming to my business, because we have people at the music school who come all the way from Lansing, Illinois. We've got people that come from Michigan, Lake County.
Yeah.
But for a lot of them, it's like their first time in Portage. And then now as mayor, I see it too, because we've had people, whether they're moving here from places in Lake County or whether they're investing here and live in Lake County, where they notice two things right away. One, how big Portage is. If you've never been, I think a lot of people think that it's like more rural or some. Portage is the third largest city in Northwest Indiana. We've got about 40,000 people. We are growing. We've been the third largest city in Northwest Indiana for 20 years.
Hammond, Gary,
goes Hammond,
Portage?
Gary, and then Portage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hammond's at about 80,000. Gary's at about 70,000, and Portage is just about at 40,000.
Okay.
And not everybody thinks of us that way. I actually did a thing on Facebook about it, explaining it, how we've got great public safety. We've got a really good grid system, honestly, with our roads.
Sure.
You can basically drive Portage's main roads and not realize how many neighborhoods are in between them. A lot of people who live in Portage are surprised to find out they live in such a big city. The other part is we've just got such an active and engaged population that seems like a small town. And I always tell people we can have a small town feel with big city success. So first thing that people tend to notice in Portage is just how many people there are. Second thing that they tend to notice is the number of people who leave their garage doors open. When I knocked on 7,000 doors in the city when I was running for mayor, and I grew up in a family where it was you close the garage door when you leave the house. But, it's kind of like the old...
So even when they're leaving the house, they leave the garage door open?
Oh, yeah, the garage, yeah. Probably shouldn't say that too much, other than the fact that, but at the same time, when people feel safe in a neighborhood and they're secure... there was someone I knew who came from a city in Lake County who's like, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, what are you doing? You got to close that garage door, lock it down.
And often enough, there's somebody in the house, but the fact that you're even comfortable being in the house, we had it happen about how long ago was this? Either last month or the month before. I was driving with my wife, and we were actually on like a lunch break. So we were getting lunch somewhere and then getting ready to go, and there were these dogs running around. And so I got out, and there was another guy who was kind of already, chasing them, but he wasn't the owner.
You a dog guy?
I'm a dog. I used to have two Lhasa Apsos who were twin brothers, Guido and Giacomo. Guido passed away last month. And Guido, yeah.
What's his brother's name?
Giacomo. And even there, that's a crazy story, because we had it happen where we knew that we wanted to get a dog. We had this name Giacomo in mind. There was this lady in Lake Station who, her two dogs had a litter. Wasn't planned, but she knew somebody that we knew and is like, I'm trying to find homes for all these puppies. And we knew that there was one left. And so we were going to go pick him up, and we were going to name him Giacomo. And then we're driving to Lake Station to pick him up, and this lady, she calls us, and she's very sad. She's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm thinking she's saying, like, she gave the dog away, like, we're not going to be able to get him. She's like, I lied to you, or at least I didn't tell you the whole story. There's actually 2 dogs left, not one, and they are twin brothers. And I'm like, well, they're in the litter. She's like, no, they came out of the same sack. I didn't know that dogs could do that, but they were.
Just learned that today.
So we had them too. So well, I'll tell you in a minute. But
so she's like, and they are like inseparable. Like they just love it. And I said, Meg and I talked about it. We're like, I think we can do it. I think we can have 2 dogs, 2 puppies at the time, but we needed a name that matched Giacomo's. So we went with Guido. And their names literally meant leader and follower in Italian, and that matched their personalities to a T. So these were bigger dogs we encountered when we were driving, but I got them, and we looked up the collar, and there's a phone number on there. So I called the number, and I'm like walking one of the dogs back, the other guy's got the other, and he could hear the lady on the phone say, hey, the mayor just called us. Like, she knew I was the mayor just by saying my name's Austin Bonta. I found your dog. She's like, he's got our dogs. And so we get to the house, like, she gives the address.
Man of the people and the dogs.
They had run out the garage. It was open, and, But I say that because what's so cool about Portage is the level of public safety and the size, and you put that together, you can do a lot of great things in the community. There's a challenge to maintain both, but it's the challenge I want to have as a mayor,
Yeah.
I got 2 Danes and a pit bull at home, and one of the Danes got the pit bull pregnant, unexpected as well, and she had a litter of 8, and we had a sack that came out with 2 dogs in it, and we gave them away to people that were really close to each other, so like the dogs still play with each other and see each other, which is really cool. Sometimes it's not good to keep them. That's what everybody kept warning us, because we were debating keeping them for that reason. But people are like, they get, I forget what it's called, but when they're in the same breed and they grow up together, they become defiant of each other. If something happens with them, like it's called something, but it's like a real thing. So most breeds will separate no matter what. But yeah, that was, I've seen it. That was the only time I've ever seen it. And you're the only person I've ever heard talk about it too. But yeah, they were same sack. It was really, really crazy. And they look identical too.
Yeah, we kind of started to be able to tell them apart by kind of like stature, and kind of the way that the hair at the top of their head, kind of like went a little different. But man, if you gave them a bath, or like we take them to the groomer and they were like that, you could not tell our dogs apart minus the collar.
Yeah.
Personality wise, Guido was kind of the spunkier, more like, see, the thing about a Lhasa Apso is they were bred to be guard dogs and alarm dogs. They're too little to be like fighter dogs, like, like a security. They were in like the Tibet, the Lhasa Apsos, they would be like in the Dalai Lama's palace. And if somebody was breaking in, they set off like an alarm with their barks. And it's like a really cool thing about Lhasas, And we love both of them. But, like I say, Guido passed. He had a back injury little bit towards the beginning of 2020. We think what happened is he had lost some weight, and maybe he jumped off the couch and landed in a spot he didn't expect. And he was paralyzed for almost all of 2020. He really couldn't walk at all, but we had him on caged rest. And what was amazing about that is, with it being 2020, I mean, I was home so much. I stayed with him. We did all the different like therapy needed. And from about 2021 to really about this summer, he was able to walk again. You wouldn't have known that he had such a big injury before. And then sometime around June, he started really not feeling well. He started getting sick, and it was kind of a tough experience because he started to not walk again, which it was just like it was back in 2020. So we kept taking care of him. We kept hoping he was getting better. And it was kind of a miracle in and of itself that when he passed, it was a Monday, and I had a meeting that got canceled. So I went home just to check on him. Meg was there, and his brother was there, and we could just kind of tell he was going. And but he passed with all of us there.
Yeah.
And I don't exactly know the science on this, but someone had told me that it's true with people, I guess, that a dog, if somebody dies and they have a dog, you should show the dog, because like dogs can understand death.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they can't understand if someone just never comes back. And so we had Giacomo there, and again, I imagine that's true with dogs too. Like, him knowing that his brother like passed. Again, I don't know exactly how that works.
So
like,
I see
No,
dogs,
it's real. Yeah, they can accept it. They know they understand death. They could smell it on you. They understand that you're gone.
So how do they know? Like, I seen dogs at like churches with the casket, or like in military, like they go and they just somehow know. Maybe they could smell them.
Yeah, they can smell you. Yeah. It's like over grave sites too. If you bring a dog to their other owner, they'll lay by the grave site on the grass and stuff. They could still smell you. Crazy. Yeah.
You served our country in the military.
I did not. I have tremendous respect for the people who did, but I didn't serve in that way.
You did Nativity of that was your undergrad, or that? No, that's your.
So I went. Yeah. So I went to Nativity of Our Savior for elementary school and then middle school.
And then you went to Andrean.
Then I went to Andrean.
Where'd you go to college?
DePaul University in Greencastle.
And then you immediately started teach. Well, you did the whole.
There was a summer where I worked maintenance at Nativity, but then I got hired to be a
where your
special
wife
ed
worked
teacher.
worked at the church, right?
She worked at Andrean.
Okay.
So I took the job at Nativity, just doing some of the maintenance. I had done that before when I was in high school as like a summer job, and at 22, recently married, it was kind of good to start with earning some money, but I knew I needed, something different, in terms of what I was doing. So I had told my wife that I would have a different job before I turned 23. And so I started going around. That was 2013. I was taking resumes everywhere around the region. We were actually living in Crown Point at the time. We had gotten an apartment because, and again, nothing against Crown Point. It's a great city, but we looked at a map and basically thought, you grew up in Munster, I grew up in Portage. This looks like it's kind of the middle. It's not. Crown Point is kind of far away from everything except Crown Point, at least it was at the time.
Sure.
But all said and done, when I got the opportunity to work in special education, I was excited. I was also kind of nervous because I'm like, am I, going to be good at that?
And you went to graduate school, but during the process got your teaching license.
Yeah, so I was teaching and going to school, which is actually, I think, a great way to, you talk about learning, on the job and learning what goes into it. Like I say, as an elementary school teacher, I worked with kids who had learning disabilities, but also kids who had behavioral or behavior-related disabilities. Yeah. And then you had kids who had autism, kids with ADHD. My favorite was, and they always gave these kids to my caseload, the kids who had oppositional defiant disorder, which Northwest Indiana is actually a pocket of that. There are areas of the country where certain things are more...
Oh, and you see it sparking up? Or
we're listed as like an area where there's more kids on average, compared to the other parts of the country that we have oppositional defiant disorder. And, what is that? To start, it was the best way it was ever described to me was by the parent of one of the students I taught. He said it so well. If you remember the first Jurassic Park movie, how they make the electric fences, and every dinosaur that touches the electric fence, they get zapped and then they never touch it again. But the raptor touches every part of the fence to try to find a weak spot.
I like this description.
That's oppositional
analogy.
Defiant disorder. You give a rule, and then they look for some place to test it. And
did you see that new Jurassic Park movie?
I think all of our sales reps have that.
Okay, every single
one of them. Yeah. Anytime we implement a rule, they find a way. They find a way to find a loophole.
And it's really cool because at this point, I'm old enough now that I have kids who I taught when they were in like 5th grade, 4th grade, who are like adults now, and they're taller than me. And that's really neat. And it's been cool for a lot of kids to see their old teacher become the mayor, still involved in the community. That's pretty cool too.
These schools need this funding. Now, your party wants to remove that funding.
I think there's people who definitely don't understand public education. I do what I can to try to advocate for that. One of the tough things, though, really is that we need good public schools, not just in our country, but in our area. One of the challenges we deal with in the city is that the way that Indiana has structured funding is that, well, up until the recent change that happened with SB 1, but it still comes into play, Indiana schools get more funding based on how many kids they have, but in a property tax-based system, cities don't necessarily get more funding for having more people. So you can create a conflict in a city like Portage, not a conflict where we're like disagreeing with each other, where you've got a school system that wants growth, and then you have a city that is actually concerned about, well, if you got more neighborhoods, that's more police you need, more fire, fighters that you need. You need to have more people to be able to pick up all the trash and places to plow.
Tax revenue.
And the trick is that it's not as if, I think a lot of people, understandably, common sense would make you think that, a city's building new neighborhoods, these homes are paying taxes, the city's going to get more money. But what they don't always know about is how Indiana has limits on how much a levy can grow, year by year. And so in some cases, if a city is growing fast enough, taxes actually go down because it adjusts the tax rate to match that city's levy.
Sure.
So we've been working with the school system to try to figure out how to make sure we both benefit, from growth. One of the biggest things that we're working on that's going to get, it'll be going through the process this fall, is the residential TIF program. And that was probably the weirdest thing for me to learn about because well, I got to be careful because if Dan Bowditch is ever watching this, he's going to be so upset that I called it TIF. TIF is a tool. It's not actually what it's called. They're called allocation areas. But traditional TIF, as I like to call it, or a traditional allocation area, is when a city establishes a zone where new assessed value on a business property, whether it's industrial or commercial, is captured by the redevelopment commission, but it's taken out of the actual AV area of the rest of the city, which actually allows for a lot more revenue to be generated than what it would be for any of the different districts if it wasn't in a TIF. But that said, there's limits on what you can spend it on if you collect it that way. And usually it's mostly capital projects, infrastructure projects within that allocation area. So back in 2019, the Indiana legislature, they created what they call residential TIF or home TIF. And again, Dan Bowditch is my redevelopment director. He knows all about this stuff.
How'd you find him?
Oh, so he, man, Dan is the man. It's kind of hard to explain. He is like...
He's a Portage native like yourself?
No, he grew up in Chicago. He went to Columbia University. His first job out of Columbia, he was the head of the planning department for Whiting.
This guy's an all-star.
Oh, yeah. Then he worked for SCH. He worked with Carl Cinder for a while. Now he's got his own company called DEF Consulting. And he is literally a guy who has a planning background, but he also knows municipal finances. So we contracted him to work as our city's redevelopment director. And what he's done, I mean, I talk about what Tom Cherry has done for the planning department. What Dan has done for redevelopment has just been phenomenal.
So you have a close relationship with him.
Oh, he's a great guy. He works with the city of Gary, Michigan City, Hammond, Crown Point.
Who would play him?
Oh, in a movie? Man, who would you cast as like a genius who's got nothing but like impeccable manners?
Impeccable manners?
Oh, Dan is like the most polite.
So it's not Robert Downey.
Jude Law?
Okay.
I could see Jude Law playing Dan. That would be cool.
What about Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man? Play him.
I forgot his name.
Tom Holland?
Yeah, Tom Holland. Yeah. He could be Tom Holland. Right?
Definitely the young, yeah. Dan would probably have the cooler movie than me because he's done so much across different cities. I mean, he's seen all these different, things that have happened in all the different cities he's worked with. He's played such a key role. There's a really funny story. I love this story when Dan, myself, and Tom Cherry and my chief of staff, Leanne, we all took a trip to Notre Dame University to meet with people from the Notre Dame School of Architecture.
Never heard of it.
And along the way, we met Jerry Hammis, who owns the Hammis bookstore for Notre Dame.
Oh, nice.
And
nice,
we got to have lunch with him. It was a very neat, conversation because we had a mutual friend who's like, let's all get together and, we can meet him on the way. And
he's a huge Notre Dame fan.
That's where I get all my gear from. We're season ticket holders.
So Tom Cherry, who would probably also be a blast on this show because he's also the biggest Notre Dame fan like in the world, unless he's competing with you, I'm sure. Yeah. But Dan is not. So Dan had
Dermot's a big Notre Dame fan too.
McDermott too. Yeah.
Well, he went to law school there, right?
Yeah.
And
that's where he met his wife.
So Dan went to Columbia. Dan's dad, if I remember right, wanted him to go to Notre Dame, and he got into Notre Dame, but he picked Columbia. So he says he's just not quite a fan of the football team,
Okay.
But we're in the car, and so on and off, we're kind of joking about, hey, we're going Notre Dame, but we're all kind of joking about, how much Tom is a fan, and kind of like the fact that Dan's just kind of not. He's like, I have no problem with Notre Dame. He's like, I'm just not a big fan of the sports of it, and. Well, anyway, so we're driving back. It was a great meeting, but we're driving back, and Tom always drives the car. I joke that Tom is my chauffeur because whenever we have to go somewhere as a group, we hop in his car, and he's the guy that drives it. And, we're driving back. It's a pleasant time. Now, remember, Dan was the head of the planning department in Whiting years ago. And Tom says to Dan, like, everything's kind of good. We're all just kind of having it. And he goes, hey, Dad, have you ever seen the movie Rudy? And Dan's like, yeah, I've seen the movie Rudy. And he's like, man, I just don't know how you could watch a movie like Rudy and not be a fan of Notre Dame.
Sure.
And Tom says, Dan, part of that movie, the house scene was filmed in Whiting. And Dan says, I know, I had it torn down. And not because of that, but because it was actually an old house that needed to come down. But I just
Did you know that, Elijah?
I knew that it was filmed in Whiting. Yeah.
Probably also, the dad who's like a big fan or something.
You guys know it's fake? Like the whole story.
Oh yeah, no, I know that too.
Yeah, that's what ruined that movie for me. I watched the movie as a kid, and as every kid, and you love Notre Dame. Rudy's the man. You're fired up watching that, and then later you find
most
of it is. I'm sure there's a little hint. You got to have the story originate somewhere. Well, but most of that's bullshit.
Well, who wrote and really pitched the movie was Rudy himself. And even the coach, who looks so bad in the movie, he actually was really supportive of the real Rudy and allowed himself to be portrayed like that in the movie to get the movie done. So there's some complications to some of those.
No.
So
was he the same guy that played Coach in the movie or in the show Coach? You know, the show Coach? Was that
I
the
don't remember
actor?
the coach from the movie. I just remember Rudy.
Okay. Wow. You don't
And the
remember
kid
the movie?
and his friend that died in the thing. Dude, I
What
stopped
about the
watching
maintenance
it.
guy that's clapping him? You remember that
It's
guy?
fake. I stopped watching it.
Oh, you gotta watch
the
it
whole
multiple
premise
times?
of the movie, dude. I'm cooked on that. Like I don't want to see it again. My whole childhood is
favorite
ruined.
school.
Doesn't matter if you go into something. You're like, oh man, this is so cool. You spent your childhood bragging about the movie. It was in your top 3 favorite sports movies ever, and then you find out it's a crock of shit. No, dude, I'm not gonna watch it again. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to.
this could be like a whole thing, like an analysis of the movie Rudy. It is the purpose of changing a story for the purpose.
We do it all the time on Roof Trollz.
Gladiator, that didn't exist, but I mean, Marcus Aurelius exists.
We argue all the time, especially every year. The best argument is the Die Hard, which I have you on here. Best we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
In your opinion, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
In my opinion, I don't mind it being one, in the sense that it happens at Christmas. There's Christmas stuff going on in the background. But by that definition, I just always throw this in because I'm familiar with this debate. I do say that if Die Hard is a Christmas movie, maybe you already agree with this, you got to include The Princess Bride as a Christmas movie as well.
Never seen it.
Whoa, never heard that. You never seen The Princess Bride?
Nope.
You've never seen The
that's a
Princess
classic.
Bride? Oh,
I know,
man,
I've heard,
yeah.
it's
Inconceivable.
A lot of people have
It's
mentioned
inconceivable.
That. I
It's,
thought you were going to come with something even more obscure, like
if you-
Gremlins or Lethal Weapon.
If you're paying attention to the Princess Bride when the grandpa is coming and reading all the story and you look at everything in the background, it's totally Christmas
It's
time.
Christmas?
I think it's as Christmas as Die Hard. That would be
right.
my answer to it. So as long as that's your standard,
Well, I have a whole thing that I go down, but to make it short, is I ask people how they define, because I'm on the other spectrum. I think it's 100% a Christmas movie, not even debatable. But when you look at it from the, like, what do you consider a classic Christmas movie? And I tell people, I mean, it checks
It's
the
a
box.
Wonderful Life.
You got everything on there. So
Home Alone.
Yeah, but you got Christmas music, Christmas decorations,
White Christmas.
takes place on Christmas Eve into Christmas Day. It is about a man who stops at nothing against all obstacles to make sure he makes it home to his family on Christmas.
Yeah.
And he's a hero at the end of the movie on Christmas with a happy ending. I'm not sure what boxes we need to check outside of that to consider this a Christmas film.
There's Christmas lights in it?
There's everything, the
Christmas
decorations,
trees?
yeah.
So who are these idiots that's saying there's no Christmas in it?
It's not that
not a
there's no
Christmas
Christmas.
movie.
They're saying it's not it's
Angela,
not a
isn't
Christmas
it?
movie. Oh, dude, Angela's hard on this. But yeah, they're saying it's not. I'm just saying. But for me, if I was to ask you what your checklist would be for a Christmas film, Die Hard would check every box on there. It would,
Every box.
and then it would be hard to argue at that point: is it a film or a Christmas movie or not?
So I didn't mean to cut you off, Mayor Bonta.
Oh no, it's cool.
But so it's Dan. Dan's the man.
Dan is the man, and he. So what we were looking at was when it came to how do we deal with the fact that growth is good for schools, especially like the Portage Township schools, that there's a misconception that the Portage schools are overcrowded. They're actually not. To give you an idea, back in
How big
2000,
are the classrooms?
so I'll give you some numbers. So back in 2018, when I was still working as a special education teacher, there were about 8,200 kids in our schools. Now we're at about 6,580.
how does enrollment go down?
So one of the big things that the school system did, and this is great, and this is why it's important for different government entities to talk to each other, because if one's paying for like a study, that saves another one, to have to not do the same thing.
Right.
Schools
Yeah.
did a whole demographic study, and what they're finding is that even though right now a lot of people are moving to the city of Portage, especially moving from Lake County or moving from the Chicago area, wherever they're moving from,
Illinois.
most of the people who are moving to the city of Portage are moving here after their kids have grown.
Oh, okay.
You're talking people who are some seniors, but also people in their 40s and 50s who are moving here after maybe their
So they're
last
empty
kid-
nesters.
empty nesters, downsizing, looking for a good place to move to. And so one of the things that we're trying to do, and this goes back to building a downtown, having more things to do, we're trying to attract more families that are young. Love that we've got older families and families that are in the middle, but we also want young families that have children who will start going to our schools. And so it's hard to know what a capacity is for a school system because there's so many ways you can kind of make room and adjust. Portage schools arguably have a capacity of about 9,300 to 9,500, depending on how you kind of organize
You're
it.
at like 65 and change or 6.
Yeah, so they've got some room to grow. And at the same time, the city has to be able to have enough resources for police and fire and all of that. So the answer we found that I'm very excited about but it's a process to teach the community. We've got a meeting with the school system. We've had several meetings to kind of work on this. And then also even just explain it to the city council to make sure that it all goes smooth is this residential TIF system. Remember what I said about ODD? Sometimes you got to touch every part of the electric fence to find something. And I don't know if any of you guys ever like do like games, like, video games, but if you know the concept of like emergent gaming, like sometimes you find a game within a game that maybe wasn't, found.
Give me a sample. Emergent gaming.
What's a good example? I love the guy who played Skyrim, but his entire goal was to get through the entire game as a normal guy, not having any adventures. And that became a game of its own because the system basically encourages you to,
Right.
Then you had a guy who played a game where, I forget how this all works, but there's like a scene where your character is like really little, but he figured out how to do, I don't know if it's a hack or what have you, but he was able to stay the little guy the whole game and see how far he could get before the mechanics of the game didn't work.
And then a lot of people do the time trial ones too, like Resident Evil's known for to Metal Gear Solid, where you'll race through the game as fast as you can to complete it.
I've seen
and
the
see if you
Mario
can do it in
Brothers
less than an
ones,
hour.
And then I've
that's
seen
crazy.
people do the game where, pick any game where you, kill people or kill, things in it, where you try to do the whole game without killing anybody.
Okay.
And it's like, sometimes that can be like almost impossible.
I don't know,
But
yeah,
like that's
Final Fantasy, like one of the
Oh, yeah.
originals, like play the game as all red mages. I don't know if that was, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Red can do damage, but can also heal.
I love
Usually
Final
you need
Fantasy
a
VII.
warrior, you need a mage that does
Yep.
damage. I'm really nerding myself out here. That
So
was
what
30
we
years
found
ago.
is, so there's always been in Indiana, there's always been allocation areas as something cities can create, often called TIF districts colloquially, but in 2019, Indiana's legislature passed this thing called home TIF or residential TIF. And the idea was, and just to explain what it is if you've got a undeveloped area of land, let's say you're a city that is, and this was really what it was designed for, it was designed for cities and towns that wanted population growth, needed population growth. I kind of have, when I've told this example, I've created a fictional town called Timbuktu, Indiana. It's got like 300 people, and
Sure.
they're worried that they're going to kind of die out like Radiator Springs. You need people to come.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you can take the
Is that
same...
a Cars reference?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can take an area and you can tell a developer, hey, if you build a neighborhood here, we'll make a TIF district around it. And then what we can do is that if you need infrastructure built, like the roads and the stuff that goes in, we can set it up so that when the value of these properties increases and the redevelopment commission captures that increased and assessed value, we can pledge that to paying for the infrastructure. So from a resident standpoint, you buy a house, you pay your taxes, same as they'd be, just wherever they'd be. But those taxes are basically on reserve to pay for that infrastructure. This got told to me back in 2024 when we had this neighborhood where, to put it really simply, there were a lot of challenges. It had already been approved before I was the mayor, and it came with a lot of issues with drainage. This is the same neighborhood with the asphalt driveways. I'm not trying to beat up on it, but it was like, we've worked a lot out. But there was a point where I was meeting with one of the developers, and he's like, you know what I don't understand? I'm like, what? He said, I don't know why you haven't put this in a residential TIF. And I said, man, why would I do that? I mean, even though it's not like we lose money directly as a city that way, like, why would I inherently, unlike Timbuktu, Indiana, Portage is not a city where we've ever had to beg or like encourage someone to come and build a neighborhood. This is really meant to be something to incentivize. And he said, well, if you put this neighborhood in a residential TIF, it'll generate this much more money. You talk about the difference between getting, $160,000 versus getting like $1.2 million. And he's like, you can take that money and you can put it on the state. Oh, this is the other thing. So the state of Indiana, they put that on pause real quick. So I'm sitting down, like having like lunch with a guy, but, go back to 2019. Indiana created this for the Timbuktus and the Radiator Springs. And for the most part, from 2019 to 2023, no one really used it. There's a couple of communities around Indiana where they made use of this thing, but for the most part, a lot of places were either like Portage, where there just wasn't a perceived need to do it, or they were honestly kind of too far away. You could kind of throw money at people or encourage them with incentives, but if no one's going to come and move this far out, it's probably not going to work anyway. So in 2023, the legislature, they updated residential TIF, and they said any money that you make in it that doesn't go to the infrastructure, if you don't assign it that way, you can use that money for police and firefighter salaries and operations. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. So, you can put a TIF district here, and then you can make a deal with us, it can pay for some of our infrastructure, and then whatever money you guys get from it, you guys can use that to pay for more police and firefighter salaries. And I said, man, that's great. But legally speaking, I think I'm just going to work with the city council and the redevelopment commission. We'll put this district over you, and we'll keep all the money, and we'll use that for police and firefighter salaries. And at first, they were like, well, we don't like that idea. And I'm like, yeah, but you guys were going to build this neighborhood anyway. And they're like, that's true.
Yeah.
And like, you were going to have to pay for the infrastructure anyway. It's like, right. So we're not taking any money from you by setting this up. And they're like, okay. They weren't terribly fond of it because they were hoping to get, money saved by the development. So that was my initial plan going into 2025. We were working on, it takes a while to do the home TIF program. We had 5 new neighborhoods that were already approved in the city. You're talking about 1,000 homes over the next 2 years coming in. And the ability...
5 new neighborhoods, about 200 houses each.
Something like that, yeah.
And that's been approved for 2025 going forward?
So you had Bower Farm that was approved in 2022.
How big are the lots, do you think?
Those are 50-foot lots, and it's about 230, like some homes.
Okay.
My in-laws just bought a house in a new subdivision. You guys have, the builder, I forgot his name. Olaf. And it's over by the railroad tracks.
Yeah, I know the spot. Yeah, Olthoff. Yeah.
Olthoff.
And so then you got
Olaf, yeah, it's fucking Disney.
Then you got Sandy Trails, which is off of Route 6. That one hasn't broken ground yet, but it's always been zoned for what they're doing, so it's coming. Yeah. And then you've got Swanson Trails, which is off of Swanson Road. That's Lennar, and they bought land. Now that's an interesting one. They bought land that was already zoned R2 for a neighborhood that never got built. And so
this was already farmland at one point, right? Now it's...
So, and even there, you got to be kind of, not careful, but you got to be, transparent with people about farmland, because when you're in a city that's incorporated, it's not true in Portage. So in Portage, this is the case. I can't speak for every city, but most cities, there's really not agricultural zoned land within a city. So in Portage, there's no land that's actually zoned for a farm.
Okay.
Can't have animals. You can't do a lot of that. Like, there's no permanently zoned farmland in Portage.
What about chickens? Can we have chickens in Portage?
You can have chickens in Portage.
We need chickens. It's the price of eggs, right?
Oh, yeah. And so what happened is that when you see land that's inside of city limits, and there's usually like a cornfield on it, so that's undeveloped land. By law, you can farm crops on any undeveloped land. And so if you and I, for the record...
I see corn all the time driving through Portage.
Oh, yeah. So you and I, for the record, we don't have any business together, currently, but let's say you and I were business partners and, we decide we want to buy land and invest in it, right? So you and I might buy a piece of land off Route 6, or we might buy a piece of land off Willow Creek in Portage, and we buy it. We know it's a good property. One day we're going to find someone who's going to pay more for it than what we got for it. But in the meantime, we're just sitting on it. Any undeveloped land, you and I can rent it to a farmer who then plants crops on it.
Yeah, because we got to pay taxes on it every year, right?
Right. When you're inside, again, I don't know if this is true in every incorporated city. I can't speak for all of them, but there's no agricultural zoned land in Portage. I know one guy who wants to get his land zoned that way, and it's an interesting idea. I'd love to see him succeed, but we have to write like a whole new zoning classification for him if he gets that far. But that said, you buy land and it's commercial land, it's residential land, or it's industrial land, but until you find a seller, you're going to make some money by renting it to a farmer who's going to grow crops on there. And then when you find a seller, like if one's coming, you're going to work with that farmer to say, hey, I'm selling this for a strip mall, I'm selling this for a steel mill, I'm selling this for a neighborhood, and then you phase out your contract with that farmer. But Portage has not had fully active farms in some time. Used to. Central Avenue used to be called Wagon Wheel Road, and it actually, there's people who remember cows crossing Central every day.
Oh, okay.
And actually, I'm a big believer in the fact that agriculture is so important. Without farms, there's not food.
Yeah.
But I'm also very much against sprawl, one of the biggest challenges we have,
Sorry, what's sprawl?
like urban sprawl, like, you got more and more neighborhoods just keep growing and growing and growing, taking up what used to be farmland,
Okay, so you're against
Valpo.
that. You're against that.
I live in Valpo.
Why
What
is
they're
that?
doing.
As much as you can, you want to discourage it, even as a city grows. And see, that was one of the challenges.
Why? Because then it's just not organized correctly.
So you think about it like this, right? If you keep having just row after row of neighborhoods going out forever away from the city
You
center,
need some sort of infrastructure. You need
you've got more infrastructure to maintain. You've got people who, if they're driving downtown or driving anywhere, they got to drive a long distance. That's gas, that's wear and tear on their vehicles.
Meaning like there's not a grocery store or a gas station or a pumping station or
Every area you need to have, ideally, you want to have it where
dry cleaner.
you want to have that stuff ideally within like a 15 to 10 minute drive where people live. And see, one of the things that'll happen, think about it like this. If you've got a road, right?
Yeah.
You've got a road, and let's say that it takes $1 million to maintain 2 miles of that road. That costs your city $1 million, whether 50 people live on it or whether 10 people live on it.
Okay.
So if you've got so many people, do you want them all living in a closer area to each other, or do you want them so spread out that your
Closer.
services got to travel, all over?
Yeah.
Now, with Portage, there's always been a demand for homes. There's always been people who want to move there, and that's great, but the city planning of it is really key. So being on the Plan Commission, I started, on one hand, getting very concerned about the fact that the Portage, the city, could be very hard to get a business opened in. And at the same time, even though I know developers who said that the residential was tough too, but ultimately, Portage was always pro-home growth. Part of a big decision for me to run for mayor was my concern that if you're just pro-home growth, but you're not pro-business, you're actually creating a situation where you've got 40,000 people who live in a place, they like living there, but they've got to drive 30, 40 minutes south,
To have a
north,
good
and
time
east.
or to get a meal or get gas. Yeah.
And from a city planning perspective, if you just got neighborhoods that are sprawled out, that's the word sprawl, that means more police, more fire, and a more stretched out area to take care
sprawl
of.
is like a derogatory term.
It can be.
Yeah.
I don't know if it always was.
You're right.
I try not to make anything derogatory, but you want to be really careful. And really what I'm trying to do in Portage when it comes to the planning end, we really have a north side that a lot of people don't always think about. We have a middle of our city, and then we've got a south side.
Are you happy with the way it's laid out right now?
I love the way it's laid out right now, not in terms of what it all is right now, but what it can be.
Okay.
So downtown, and I'll put it like this: Route 6 in my lifetime took off. I mean, I'm one of those people who remembers when Route 6 was nothing but the high school and cornfields. Now they built the Walmart, they built the Kmart that became the Meijer, they built all the different. I say they. That's
Have
the
you seen the new
companies.
courthouse there?
Seen the courthouse
Man,
there?
it's beautiful.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's really like a big long row of like franchises,
Yeah.
and put that on hold, but we'll come back to that. Then you've got Central Avenue, which I think a lot of people, when they talk about downtown Portage, they'll refer to that as our downtown, but kind of goes back to when we were developed, right? So we grew a lot in the 70s and in the 80s, and that was the big parking lot era. Everyone's driving everywhere. Stores, you need big parking lots.
Yeah.
One of the things with us is
I'm not
because
a fan of big parking lots.
I'm not a huge fan either. To give you an idea, I don't know if you've ever been to Carmel, and I say Carmel, everyone thinks I'm talking about roundabouts. We'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
Jim Brainerd, who was the mayor of Carmel for 28 years, to give you an idea, he got elected the mayor of Carmel in 1995.
So you
and-
follow successful mayors.
oh, Jim was a
or you've been
very
to Carmel
successful
and you're
mayor.
like, I like this
I actually-
layout. I like the way this looks.
So
I'm going to find out how or who did this.
He actually got elected mayor of Carmel in 1995. He was mayor for 28 years, and my godparents, my mom's best friend, my godmother and her husband, they moved to Carmel in 1993. So every summer when we would go back to visit them, I watched that community grow from, I now know, 26,000 people to 105,000 people, and it's just got so much going on. But when I met Jim Brainerd, he came up to Portage. He took a tour around town, gave ideas. He's in his 70s. He's a very athletic guy. Not that you got to be terribly athletic to do what we did in this particular trip, but we walked from our city's downtown. We walked from our city hall, and we walked all the way through the parking lots, literally through a trail in the woods, through all the grass that's open, and we walked to Founders Square, where the Chamber of Commerce office is. And he said to me, do you realize you can fit all of downtown Carmel between City Hall and this Chamber of Commerce building? And I had no idea, because I'd been to downtown Carmel. But again, you go to our like downtown area
So
in the
they
middle.
planned it right in Carmel. They got it right.
I mean, you could say that they planned it right, but you got to consider that he too, when he became mayor in the 90s, he came in and took over a city that really didn't have a downtown either, minus, as he puts it, there was a pool hall, there was like a bank, a lot of parking lots.
Pool hall.
That stuff kind of
We still have
happens.
pool halls around here.
I would love a pool hall.
Munster had
in-
one.
There's a
Right
pool
off-
hall in Griffith.
In
I've
Griffith,
seen.
yeah, Griffith Billiards.
Okay.
In Griffith, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to see something like
People
that.
still play pool.
And
There's
so,
pool leagues out there, yeah.
Okay.
And so I'll start there with the downtown, because like I say, we really, as a city, we kind of need 3 different, if you will, downtown kind of like business and higher density areas. And then we kind of need our downtown to be the main. But I'll start there. We've got a lot of parking lots. We got a lot of open space. We got that big green space where the Rocks Fest was and, all of that. So how do you get people to come? See, the thing about Portage, because we were founded in 1959, we didn't have the same layout as, say, downtown Hobart. I think if the story, please fact check this, but I've been told this. Hobart, when it got built, they thought they were going to be the county seat, because originally Lake County
Really?
and
I didn't
Porter
know
County were going to be one county. And you think about it, if Lake County and Porter County were just one county,
This is in
Hobart's the
between.
middle. Yeah. And then they ended up making Lake County and Crown Point the county seat. So you go to there's kind of a square, not just feel, but kind of the setup with the buildings here in downtown Hobart, Crown Point's got a square because they had a courthouse. She built a square around the courthouse. Valpo's got a square. But those things happened very naturally because of where they were built and how things were done back then.
Right.
Portage built to be more originally of a suburb, good grid, but long roads, expecting people to drive everywhere. We didn't have an area quite like that. How do you build it that you end up with, how do you have it that you build it where you start attracting restaurants, you start attracting stores? Well, you need to show businesses, big and small. Sometimes it's easier to get a bigger business to notice. I mean, everybody was excited when Target announced that they were coming to Portage, and that's going to be getting built within the next year. We're excited about that.
I was going to ask about that. So that is really happening.
Oh yeah,
I like Target.
and I had to sit on that.
My kids call it the toy store.
He broke my daughter's heart. My daughter should be 9 in September.
Yeah.
When you did your April Fool's prank and you
with
put
the
Buc-ee's up
Buc-ee's,
there.
yes.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, what's it called?
She was screaming. She's like, Dad, they're building the Buc-ee's. The Buc-ee's right here in Portage. I said,
the
no,
heck is
they're not.
Buc-ee's?
It's
What's
a gas
like
station.
a gas station, but it's like the mecca of gas stations. They
Oh.
build these in places, and people
It's
go
badass.
and
I'm not even going to downplay
it's
it.
huge.
It is cool, dude.
Where have you
If
seen a Buc-ee's at?
Texas.
Oh,
They're huge
okay.
in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a downtown develop though with like local entrepreneurs and you want to
Yeah.
get some of that middle, type, you want to get restaurants, you got to show that there are people there. And so for us, having Market on the Square, and Kelly, again, you talk about great people on a team. So Kelly used to be the head of, it's called the Public Works here, but in Portage we call it the Street Department. Kelly ran the Public Works in Hobart for a number of years, and love Mayor. Well, I love Josh too. He's a great guy. But Brian Snedecor, you talk about a mentor. He's been huge for me as like a former mayor who I take advice from and all that. But Kelly was looking to do something new, and when I found out that she was considering working somewhere else, I said, have you ever thought about running our parks department? Ooh. And she's like, what? I said, yeah, we need a new parks director, because in Portage, I came in, we had a parks director resign when I came in, and I'm like, well, I guess I got to start over from there. Our parks had not really recovered since COVID. They weren't doing rentals. Rental revenue was down because they just weren't doing them.
Yeah.
We had a whole lot of interest in sports, but a lot wasn't quite happening
What's
yet.
the main park in Portage?
Probably Woodland Park, and then Imagination Glen. Imagination Glen is becoming incredible. We're trying to get more people to Wolf Park, which is a park not so many people know about on the west side, but it's got so much potential. But Kelly's done incredible. She took what was called Market on the Square, which the city had for years, kind of like it was supposed to be a farmer's market, but we didn't have any farmers there. We're still working on getting more farmers to come. But to give you an idea, like when I was running for mayor, I never even thought of like stopping by there because there's just wasn't a lot of people. We get about 1,000 people every Friday now, sometimes closer to 2,000. The opening Friday in the summer for Market on the Square is like a huge thing. We've got 94 vendors now. And then you take in the concerts that are happening in our downtown. It takes time. It's not like it all happens overnight, but when you can consistently show that thousands of people can come to a place, it makes somebody think, man, we can open a restaurant here. We can open a store here. We can open a a roofing company. You know, if we need a headquarters, we can come here. Not trying to steal you guys, but
we need a warehouse somewhere. Maybe we need to look in Portage.
Well, we like Portage anyway. Full disclosure, we like building and stuff in there right now. I guess our main hurdle is, we need to find a way to get permits to be in there, to knock doors and stuff in there with you guys, because I know that's a huge thing online. We see it all the time.
We've been really tough on that with the door-to-door solicitations, And that's something where, for me, I know that it matters a great deal, to the people of Portage. And for the record, I know that not everybody going door to door is up to no good. But I know that everybody's got their culture, and the culture of Portage is we get bombarded with so many advertisements. That's just not been something we're big on.
It's a real safe community too.
Yeah, and I'm all about finding another way to help businesses advertise, like in a great way. I just haven't completely found the perfect solution that could be like our thing,
Yeah, that's what we'd like to set up like a guideline or something. Because I know so Chesterton, for example, we have a soliciting permit in there, or Michigan City, we have soliciting permits there too. They just have certain hours you can do it, and not knocking, no solicitings and all that stuff like that. But there has to be, I don't know, something. Maybe
I've even thought, and again, you guys aren't the first people to hear this in a public setting, but one of the things we've talked about, and it's not a joke, but we've actually asked, is it almost better, just like we have a citywide garage sale day where we try to encourage everybody to have their garage sales? Is it worth having a solicitor's day? As crazy as that sounds.
Don't you guys have a citywide garage
we do,
sale?
and that's huge. That's coming up on August 2nd, but we get usually...
You see any Pokemon cards, let him know. Any Legos, let me know.
But I can tell you, as somebody who, has to knock door to door to run for mayor, and that's protected under the First Amendment, but you can knock on 80 doors, and it's a good day if there's 10 people there.
What do you think? Is that accurate?
10
up?
Yeah,
1 out of 8?
If you're banging just doors, yes.
There's a part of me that kind of wonders, if we actually had a designated day, maybe days, but I would even start with one.
And people could choose to be there or not. It's like Halloween.
It's almost kind of like Halloween. That if you don't want to do Halloween, you're still going to get your door knocked on.
Yeah.
If we had some day in the summer where it's okay, guys, here's all the companies. We vetted them that they're legit companies.
Hey,
and this is going to be our Saturday where everyone comes, they knock on your door and try to sell you everything.
Hey, we're trying to do a free inspection on your roof. That's all we want to do.
And just like Halloween, you could do it where, you turn a light off. Well, I guess that's at night, but have some sort of signal that says not interested.
Yeah.
But then otherwise, this is your day to get pitch after pitch from people. Yeah. I don't know if that's going to land well. We have not made the decision to do that.
Honey, we got to schedule away this weekend.
It's we're gonna go on vacation. It's gonna be nothing but door to door salespeople, and maybe they end up having a.
Or getting involved maybe in the market, maybe be something better like that. Maybe doing a raffles there, and we can come and set up
That's
a tent.
Another great idea.
Just be part of it, because we take pride in the fact that we're in Northwest Indiana. That's why
bring our mascot too.
When I was explaining to you, we bought this building so we could separate ourselves from other contractors that aren't going to be here for years to come. We actually pay taxes to the city. We actually are part of the community that way.
Reminds me of what I wanted to do with my music school. We didn't want to just teach out of our home. We wanted to be part of the community in a way where you can walk in, meet somebody, see that it's a safe environment with teachers who you can check on who they are and all that.
Yeah.
Any hobbies or any particular skills, hidden talents that you might have? I'm just curious. I know you're not a music guy. Your wife's music. Anything you really enjoy?
So not very good at it, but I love playing chess online. That's actually something that I used to do.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't. Kevin would. You would love Kevin.
Player,
yeah.
Oh, that'd be so fun to do. It's one of those things where
McDermott plays chess every day. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Oh man.
Oh, we
that
could
means
do
you
a
didn't watch
whole...
our podcast.
I haven't watched yours. No. I think that...
to his defense, I literally, this is our first interaction. I messaged him on Facebook, and I'm like, hey man, I want to get you on, and he was receptive to it. And then I followed back up with him, and I got him.
Would you come back on again?
Oh man, absolutely. Because honestly,
you got to bring Dan the Man. You got to bring Red.
We'll get Redstone.
Bring Meg.
Oh, and we got to bring
and her violin.
Oh, and then we got to bring Tom. I mean, however you guys want to do it.
But that would be awesome if your wife would come on here and play violin. I'm not even kidding. That would be so
this
cool.
Isn't a music amazing. Studio, but I would love to hear it.
I like to be different on the Roof Trollz. Who's had a violinist a professional violinist come and play a song?
How many people can play that? 1,600.
I'm not asking her to do that. Come on.
Oh, she could do one of the sonatas. I mean, and she can talk about it.
I bet she practices a lot. She had to practice a lot for that, didn't she?
I would love to come back because first off, I mean, I love the style of this. I know there were things. The story of Portage is a big one.
Well, we got more time. I mean, we'll have to have you come back for part 2 and 3. This is episode 1.
Yeah, this is going to be 2 parts, and we're going to split this episode anyway because of the length. It'll be split into 2 anyway.
Okay. Well,
okay. So part 3 will. We can organize the people, but to be able to really tell Portage's story, And this is the thing I do try to say, and maybe just to tie this in at the end, like with the social media, I love what I do as mayor, but I couldn't do the things I do. The stuff getting done in Portage, it would not happen without the team. I tell Tom, I tell Leanne, I tell Kelly, we've got so many people who really are just incredible administrators in their departments. I see myself very much as somebody who, in a way, just like how I think when I ran the music school, my job was to let the teachers teach and be the guy that allowed them to do what they do well. Play to their strengths. My job as the mayor is being that front man for them, both on the handling things that come up. If someone's got an issue with police or parks, like let me buffer and handle some of that so you can focus on what you do.
And you're attracting good people.
Oh, yeah. And then the PR side, whether it's social media, I still go and knock door to door and meet with people. I'm not trying to make you jealous, but that's why, again, I know that the solicitor thing is something we got to figure out how to do it in a way that works for the city of Portage. You know, I have my, I call them my office hours. And, you know, you talk about Mayor Tom, right? Like I was describing what I wanted to do, you know, on like a regular basis. Someone says, that sounds like Mayor's Night Out. And I said, it is. I mean, it's a great idea. I can't call it that because quite frankly, now I'm just stealing somebody else's great idea. So I've got my thing structured more as an office hour time where it's usually the Monday before the city council meeting. People can come in, they can meet with me, meet with different department heads if you let me know who you're coming to. But it's really structured like, I'm just in my office, come in.
That's cool. Yeah. Open door, man. You got to communicate with the people. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we got to have you back. I think Roof Trollz would...
We'd love to have him back. Yeah, I think the idea that you had two with the mayors, multiple on there, maybe that's how you meet McDermott. You know,
it might be what finally brings us into the same spot. Because believe me, I've been
cool.
Yeah, you guys got to be collaborating, and you know, like you said, you don't want to be paying for a study one city's done where you guys could have just piggybacked off and saved the money.
Absolutely. There are things that I know they've learned and things we've learned, and putting that together would be great for both of us. I'm sure.
You want to close this out?
Thank you for coming on, Austin. I really appreciate it. I know that you're extremely busy. How do people find you real quick? You want to plug them in?
Social media?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, just Austin Bonta.
Your cell phone number is 21. No.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you need to send me an email, abonta at portage-in.com. It's going to be .gov by the end of the year. That was another fun thing.
Oh, you're changing it to .gov. Okay.
Yeah, it's Portage has been .com forever, and another great guy on the team is Trevor. We hired the city's first IT director, and what he's done has been incredible in terms of saving money, make things run better. But he's like, man, we got to be .gov. There's people who don't believe we're us when they see .com. You know?
Okay. Yeah. And that's amazing. If you guys don't follow him on there already, he's active, very active on there. Portage is rapidly growing. Northwest Indiana right now is rapidly growing, and we just love to be able to have some of the local mayors on here. As always, guys, we will see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for being here, man.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, Mayor.